Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 14 of the Cynical Challenge podcast. My name is Grace Knudsen. Joining you from Edmonton, Alberta, Jeff Paulus is on the line from St. Albert. JP, how you been?
Well, Leafs about to blow it again, so yeah.
I didn't want to bring that up, but you know what? Yeah. This will probably be out by either the day of Game 7 or the day after, so
yeah,
don't have to worry about spoilers. But anyways, let's say hi to Jeff Salisbury in Saskatoon, who I assume has been drunk for the last 5-6 hours after Chelsea won the Champions League. Sally, how are we?
I'm doing pretty good, Gray.
That's the first thing Chelsea's won in about 100 years. Oh, wait, they won like a Europa League. So, I mean, if that counts.
Yeah, and they won the FA Cup back in the – well, actually, I can't remember when that was.
Exactly.
It's been a little while. That's true. It's been a little while.
Okay, well, you earned one anyways. So, yeah. I guess the big news this week is that the Canadian men are gearing up for a couple of crucial matches to wind up this round of World Cup qualifying against Aruba and Suriname. The roster is out. A couple of additions, a couple of people who aren't on it due to various reasons. JP, why don't we start with you? You've had a chance to look at the 24 men that John Herdman has selected for these two games. What do you make of the roster this time around?
I think it's just like the previous. I mean, it's a good roster. He's got a lot of players to choose from, and we're getting to the point where we're almost two in every position. So, yeah, I mean, I think I'm happy with it. I've got no real concern with it. Cool. That's it.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. Hey, at this point, the depth is amazing. Sally, is there anything that jumps out that's missing or that was added that you think is of note?
I'm a bit curious why Max Crepeau isn't on it. I'm not sure if he's injured right now, or perhaps he's just staying back with the Whitecaps to help them during their season. I'm not entirely sure why he's off the roster, but I mean, St. Clair being on, which is good to see. I hope he actually gets to start against Aruba to get some his first international cap, and just to see yet another Canadian goalkeeper become an option really for us. So that's a plus. It's great to see Johnny David on. I was really happy to see that. I mean, honestly, we'll be able to put out basically a David Fonzie front two, maybe a Fonzie David Laren front three, which is pretty devastating at this point. I think. I don't know. I'm not worried at all. Sure, Suriname has picked up some players from Europe. They'll be a stronger opponent. I honestly expect maybe like a 1 or 2-0 game. Like, it's going to be tight, but I just simply don't think we're going to have any real issues in these games. So,
no, that's a good point. The two players that I guess were left off, Atiba Hutchinson, he's dealing with I think it's a bit of a hammy. Herdman said. But it sounds like he would be up for coming in September when the next round would be. So that's good. And Scotty Arfield too, I guess some family commitments. He's kind of, I don't know if he's on the fence about playing again internationally or not, but the door is being left open is what it sounds like from Herdman. So that's also good to see. Just thinking about the Aruba squad, I was looking at the roster. Every single player on the Aruba squad, this is for the June 5th match, in Florida. That's the Aruba quote unquote home game that's in Florida. All of their players are domestic except one. They have one player who plays in the 5th tier in Germany. So I don't know. What do you guys make of Aruba? They lost 6-0 to Suriname and 5-0 to Bermuda, who Canada beat comfortably. So really shouldn't be an issue, should they?
Don't think so. I think I don't think it's going to be an 11-0 drubbing like we gave the Caymans. It'll be a slightly tighter match, I think, but I'm hoping that we get to see a guy like Liam Miller start in a match like that. I'm hoping that we give some guys who haven't had as many caps a chance to go out and impress and get some goals. But at the same time, we can't take it too lightly. I mean, it's a World Cup qualifier, so ultimately it's still a very, very serious match. But, I mean, we can't sound too arrogant. It's just ridiculous to be a Canadian soccer fan and sound arrogant at all. But at the same time, this Aruba match should be at least a 5 or 6 nil, you'd think, depending on who we start, right?
Right.
Depending on who we start.
JP, Aruba 205th in the world. Their schedule is different. That will actually be their second game of this window. They're going to play on the 2nd against the Caymans. For us, it's going to be our first match. Does that change the approach? And does Herdman look at things differently, knowing that he's got a bigger game against Suriname 3 days later?
Well, I think you certainly want a portion of this game to be some of your lineup that you're going to see in that second one. I think you do want to get the players together on the pitch together, a bit of chemistry before that one, because they'll be obviously, they're not going to be a pushover, Suriname. So this is an opportunity for John, to get his lineup, to see what they're going to be like. And then, you get comfortable, then you start putting in players. That's the way I approach it in this one. Just again, to start building that chemistry and get players back on the pitch and get players playing the way that you've been training and preparing them.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess the Suriname match, finish up on the Aruba match. I believe that's a 6 o'clock Mountain Time start. So 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific. And that's the Saturday. Catch it on One Soccer. And then the next match is the Suriname match. That's on the 5th. So that's the Tuesday. That's the big one. That's the one everybody's been looking forward to. It's the one that we've had circled as kind of the one that would decide the group. I looked at their roster. It's a strange makeup. They have players from all over the place. They got a couple of guys in Israel, obviously a lot of Dutch-based players in the Eredivisie and a couple divisions lower. Not a lot of domestics. I don't know much, obviously, about the Suriname League, but not a lot of guys there. But they got guys from all over. I think the most interesting thing, too, I believe I counted there were only 4 players on the roster who had more than 4 caps. There are a lot of guys who are either uncapped or had 1 or 2. So it just seems like a period of transition for Suriname where they're finding those Dutch dual nationals. And it creates a bit of an element of mystery, I think. What do you guys make of that?
JP, go ahead.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. Listen, this is a situation for me where, you've got we've got a lot of players now playing in Europe. And there is a massive, rightfully so, a celebration on social media about the number of our players that have won a cup this year, playing in the different divisions. It would be prior to what we're seeing this last couple of years with Canadians, so prevalent in Europe. This would be more of a concern because at the end of the day, again, if you're getting, it doesn't matter where they're from, where they're playing at, what island, where in CONCACAF. If they're playing in Europe and getting minutes, they're going to come in prepared. They're going to come in at a decent level, and we've not been able to match that in years past. Our players have not been playing in Europe. They've been, in the lower leagues here. They've been maybe some MLS. Maybe overseas, but not playing. So this is different for us. Not only now will be match minutes, minutes played in Europe, in better leagues than what we have in North America, but in better clubs. And I think that's where, we stand against this side. So I'd be very disappointed to not come back with 6 points in these 2 games.
Yeah, it would be a massive disappointment. And Sally, I know that from the Voyageurs' perspective, it is so hard to wrap your head around being the favorites in a group and winning games, dominating games that we shouldn't have a problem with. What is your feeling heading into that match against Suriname?
Yeah, I'm not too worried. Again, I think it's going to be quite a bit tighter than anything we've seen in quite a while. I think we're looking at like a 1 or 2-0 win, but it's going to be a win. That's the biggest thing. It's going to be a win. It's just going to be a lot tighter. That's a match where there's going to be a lot of bum squeaking because it'll be squeaky bum time the whole way through. I think John does a really good job of mentally preparing the squad for the task at hand. And I think we've perhaps lacked that in previous national team coaches. And so that's why I really am not that worried. I know there's a few folks out there that are on the Herdman out wagon already, and I think that's just beyond ridiculous. So at this point, it's going to be tight. You can't, like Jeff said, you can't underestimate any of the players that are on their squad that are playing regular minutes in Europe, because that's just, Europe is just always that step higher than anywhere else in the world, really. And so the only thing that I'm a little bit concerned about is our back line. We're missing quite a few guys from that back line who have normally been there. I don't think Cornelius is on the squad, is he?
No, he's not.
He's not. Yeah. So Derek, I'm not sure if he has a knock right now. I didn't see if he was playing last weekend or not for the Whitecaps, but Derek Cornelius has generally been a lock for us at the back, and he's not there. We have Henry back, which is nice. We have Vittoria. We're having Frank Stirring come in.
Yep.
And I want to say Scott Kennedy's on this squad as well.
Yeah.
So, it might be actually, it might be good to see a guy like Frank and guys like Frank and Scott, perhaps, as one of those two starting CBs. Depending on what John wants to do, because Vittoria's been there for us and he's normally been playing minutes, but he hasn't really played that many minutes for Morenze. How the heck you say that? That's a tough one to say. But he hasn't been playing a ton of minutes for them this year. So if John looks at match fitness and number of minutes played to be basing some of these decisions on, then you might have to go with either Stirring or Kennedy, because they have been getting minutes. Kennedy's been getting minutes, I want to say, in the 2 Bundesliga, I think, is where he plays, second or third tier Germany.
I'm not sure what tier it is, but Jan Regensburg is the club.
Yeah, we need John Eden to burst into the podcast right now and be like, he plays in this division
with proper pronunciation and everything. Yeah,
everything. Yeah, he would spit on us and then say it properly. But So and Stirring is in the Eredivisie. I don't think he's in the Dutch second
division with Den Bosch. Yeah,
Den Bosch, and I believe he's been getting a decent number of starting minutes as well. So. Sorry, getting a little long-winded on this, but I guess ultimately it's our defense that we're I think primarily worried about, right? We just can't afford to have an oops in a match against a club like or a country like Suriname, who are kind of pretty hungry right now. So
particularly if that oops is going to come, I would say early in the match. It's the first goal, you find yourselves down 1-0. I think that I don't think it would be something that we couldn't overcome, obviously, but I think it would be something that would put a lot of doubt maybe in some of the minds of some of the players, and would definitely put a lot of doubt in some of the fans as well. JP Sally identified defense as kind of his X factor. Give me a player or two who you're looking to these two matches to shine or maybe make a big impact.
Well, I mean, you go with all the usual ones. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how Tejan continues to progress for me. That's one, and Daniil Henry, getting him back out there. He'll have to be, I think, the stud in the back line. He'll have to keep things calm. He's got the experience. So to go along with the defenders that you're saying, Jeff, Daniil, I think, will be quite important when you consider the other two. And who's not here, I think. So that would be it. I'd like to see one of the other keepers get a start, certainly against Aruba. I'd like to see Dane, get a shot here, certainly in game one at least, to see how he does and ride that. But I think this is a good opportunity to maybe look at where we're at goalkeeping-wise going forward. I made comments about that one of our previous episodes. If that's a change that I certainly, support going forward for our national team. I mean, I guess that would be it. Kyle Larin, does he keep scoring?
I mean, if you're Suriname, you really have to be asking yourself, how do we deal with a front three of Fonzie, David, Larin right now? Because that is, I argue that's the best front three in CONCACAF that you could put out. I think it's better than what Mexico can even put out right now. And if you get Fonzie on his AA plus game and you get David on his AA plus game, man alive, you don't even really need Larin to light it up at that point. You have two guys that are, they're not even at the prime of their careers yet. They're still young and they're just lighting it up in Europe. I mean, it's just shocking really to think about it. So I think really the onus is on the Suriname manager of how do you deal with two absolute world-class players. I mean, heck, didn't David get linked with Real Madrid the other day? I think there's talk that Real Madrid has him and one other guy in their sights to buy for next season.
Wow.
So, that's the level that they're staring down the barrel of that gun, the Suriname team right now. So yeah. Sorry,
I'm not sure what the demonym is either. So
I've had one or two today. So please forgive me.
No, I hadn't seen the Real Madrid thing personally. I don't want to see that because I like when he gets minutes, and I think he just gets buried at Real. But that's probably
the problem is
the
that
point.
Lille's going bankrupt, right?
No,
Lille's going bankrupt, so they're going to have to probably sell him
is.
and that Yank that's playing for them. I'm trying to remember what his name is. He's another striker.
Yeah. Another young kid too. Yeah,
he's a younger guy. Yeah, him, David and that Yank. They might have to sell off because they got really big contracts there. So
you just switched over to Jonathan David.
Sorry,
I thought we were talking him or I thought you were talking about Fonzie initially.
Well, both.
Yeah.
But David at Lille. I mean, Lille's got to be selling off David at this point. So
no, if they can cash in, because they need the money. But that Real Madrid rumor, was that him or I thought you said the Real Madrid rumor was Davies, which is a rumor I never heard.
David.
No, it was David. It was Jonathan David that's been linked to Real Madrid. So
interesting.
I mean, that could be David's agent just pumping up that buy price in the end. But still, like, have we ever had a Canadian international linked to Real Madrid?
Right.
Maybe Fonzie. Like, maybe I can't remember if Fonzie was linked to Real or maybe it was Barca. It was one of the two of them. But still, like, I mean, this is wild. These are wild times we're living in, fellas.
No, it's crazy. To what Gray said, though, I mean, I agree with Gray. I think that you're not going to play over Benzema. I mean, it's just not going to happen. So, yeah.
Silly season getting a head start here. Just to finish up your thought on keepers, JP, Milan Borjan, the stalwart, is back, and James Pantemis, who of course we know from his days of valor and back with CF Montreal this year, playing with them. So there's your trio, and we have to remember too, fellas, that this group might be together for a lot longer than these two matches. It might be another week. We sure hope it is, and it absolutely should be. I don't know. I don't think you can make changes. Can you bring in an extra guy after these two matches or not? I don't know how that works.
They're bringing another, eight players in, or 13? I can't remember what it is, who I think for these two matches have to only be there for training. But once we progress from the group to will likely be the Haiti series, then I believe we're able to call another new squad of whatever World Cup qualifying is, like 23. I'm pretty sure that's up, because I think they're technically two separate windows. In this regard, I don't think they all function under the same window, because when is that two-legged series? That's at the end of this month, isn't it?
No, it's the 12th and the 15th. It's literally like 4 days later.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's why they'd be doing it then. Okay.
I wonder if that's maybe why Max Crepeau's not a part of this. Dane St. Clair goes this time, and maybe Max comes in for the next series. And maybe there's a few guys who are doing that. I know, particularly the MLS guys. I know Alistair Johnson's on this squad, maybe, and Richie Lorea, who's been drinking now. Maybe they switch off with a couple of other guys too. So,
yeah, we'd hope that maybe Scotty Arfield comes in for that two-legged series, but I don't think that's going to happen either. That's a shame. I really don't want Scotty to close the door on the national team. I really enjoy watching him play, and I think he brings a lot to the squad still. So, and Osorio is on this squad, but I don't really think how many matches has he been able to play for TFC now? Like, I think he played last weekend. I don't think he played
the one
today, did he? I
don't think so. I
happened to be watching another game that was happening at the same time as the TFC game today, so I didn't really get a chance to catch what was going on.
Which is a whole other thing. I think MLS had 3 matches going on during Champions League's final, which is absolutely asinine.
Yeah,
no, it's stupid. Honestly, it's just it's a bit of ego, honestly, and then I'm sure the ratings are crap.
Yeah.
And they rightfully should be. And in a way they should be punished for doing this, because that's absolutely foolish. mean, that's
stupid.
stupid.
Well, it's MLS, right?
That's right.
They just par for the course.
Let them burn. So
anyways, just to finish up the Suriname match, that is 9:00 Eastern. So that's a late start. It's going to be the home game in Bridgeville, Illinois, which is just outside of Chicago, of course, home of Chicago Fire. Although actually they moved back to the city, didn't they? Anyways, so there's a stadium out there, and Canada's going to play there against Suriname. 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific, 7:00 Mountain Time for those of you in our time zone.
That's old Toyota Field. Was that the one that was outside of Chicago there, where the Fire used to play?
Yeah, I think they moved back into the city though. Anyways,
maybe because that's where Montreal was playing today. Was in that Chicago stadium, and it looks different than what the previous one. Because I've actually been there. A bunch of us went there on a road trip one time.
Okay,
we did a Canada match, TFC match, and another TFC match.
I was like,
I'm so disappointed right now.
Yeah.
I'm watching Jeff have that. Is that rum or rye?
It's a rum.
Yeah, I was drinking gin, and Leaf game ended. I was no longer in a gin mood. I went to pour myself a nice rum, and to be in this mood, and I have no Coke. I'm gutted.
We just drink it straight then, Jeff. That's the only way you're going to get through the evening.
We should have held off for 15 minutes. He could have run to the Sav or something, but.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Oh, good. Maybe it's a blessing. I've got work tomorrow.
No, I want to see a blotto Jeff Paulus stick his head in a bowling ball shiner.
Yeah. I've done worse.
Homer,
I'm sure.
Putting your head in the ball shiner again? No, sir. Checks his hair in it.
Anyways,
look at happy Jeff today. Chelsea wins a game for the first time in a while. Look at happy Jeff. That's nice. I like this. It's a good look, Jeff.
It's a big mood swing from when Frankie Lampard was managing, eh?
Right.
Oh my God, I was done with that before before they even played a match. I thought it was ridiculous. He wasn't prepared. Well, now you're going to get me drunk ranting on Frankie.
Yeah.
Well, I just know before every recording session, we always have Jeff venting about Frank Lampard and how he has no idea what he's doing at the helm of Chelsea. So
look,
we won't
a Lampard jersey. I have a Lampard jersey that I actually wore out to the bar where we were watching the game at Sports on Tap today. And I love Frank. I love him as a club legend. I loved him as a player. Hell, I even used to watch New York City FC matches when he was taking the field for them. And he did himself a disservice. The club did him a disservice by allowing that appointment to happen. It was way premature. I mean, he had managed for a season at Derby, maybe, was it? I think. I'm sorry, but you're not ready for that level yet. And it sullied his legacy a bit, that he was such an absolute flop of a manager. I mean, look what Tuchel has done with them in the half season that he's had them. Yeah. He's gone and won the Champions League with them. And quite frankly, they, if they would have started with Tuchel, I have no doubt in my mind that they would have been challenging City for the title.
They beat them 3 times in a row down the stretch. Same players. You know what? It would have been the same if Stevie G had taken the Liverpool job right off the bat. It would have been the same thing for him, And this is going to be crazy. And I'm not, it's almost laughable that I'm even going to say it really. But, I look at those situations because you come into it with such emotional ties to the club, to your history there, to the fans, and it does cloud you. And I'll take this all the way back. And I wish now in hindsight, and again, a way smaller scale, and I'm talking, mountains to little tiny molehill where I'm at. But I really wish I didn't take the FC Edmonton job. I wish I had maybe, taken a different job somewhere else and got away from my emotional attachment to everything around the club. And I would have done myself better, but different. I know we're talking a much different level, but it's the same thing. It's for Lampard, the emotions, seeing everybody every day that he grew up playing for, everyone idolized him. No one can be honest with him. No one will tell him the truth about what he needs to do differently because he's Frank Lampard. Would have been the same for Stevie G. So I feel for him. He needed just a more season. I'm sure he'll become a fine manager, just not yet.
That's right. That's right. Well, I mean, look at Stevie G goes and starts managing Rangers, and they win the Scottish Premiership for the first time in a decade.
Yeah,
maybe
it was a decade. Yeah,
yeah,
because they had to go down. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. and I think that's why, and it's really unfortunate. I think that Mark DeSantos is having such a rough time with the Whitecaps. It's unfortunate because he kind of did take that route of getting away from his roots. I mean, he went down and managed in Brazil for a couple of years, and then went through kind of the lower leagues of Yank football. Eventually,
and won everywhere he went.
Yeah, and had tons of success. And then, I think he comes back and is managing in Canada, and maybe the same thing has happened to him a little bit with the Whitecaps, because they're certainly underperforming compared to what I think they should be able to do with the players they have. And I mean, Cavallini's not doing him any favors, and it's unfortunate. Back to the national team in a way here, going full circle. But I really wonder if Cavallini should even be getting a call right now, because he has been so poor for the Whitecaps. He's scored a couple, but he has just not been a DP paycheck worthy player for the Whitecaps since he's arrived. And I really wish he hadn't have left Mexican football, because he was thriving in Mexican football, and maybe he ends up going down to the Mexican second division, but you're still playing what I think is a better quality than you likely are even in MLS to some degree. And he'd still hopefully be finding success. And it's kind of ruined him. It's kind of ruined him as a player. I mean, God, for a longest time, I was going to be buying a national team kit with his name on the back of it. But now I'm not so sure, because he's become so poor these last couple of years that I honestly wonder if he should even be getting a call.
It's interesting. Maybe, he gets a start against Aruba or something, and maybe he bags a couple, and, things start to turn around for him. But yeah, he has been disappointing this season for sure. And maybe he does need a change of scenery. Who knows? Well, we'll have to see how it plays out. But again, maybe if he gets a couple in these 4 matches, I'm going to say we're playing 4 matches here in the next couple of weeks. Maybe he gets a couple and things turn around. You never know. So why don't we shift focus to the women? They also announced a roster, 28 players for a camp in Spain. They'll have 2 friendlies against the Czech Republic and against Brazil over in Spain. And then decision time for Bev Priestman. She's somehow got to cut down from 28 to 18 ahead of the Olympic Games, which the soccer tournament starts a couple days before July 23rd, which I think is opening ceremonies for that tournament. So things moving quick. And we've talked about it before, but man, Bev has some choices to make, and it is not going to be easy. There's going to be some good players who are left off. JP, why don't we start with you?
Oh. Yeah, you're letting me start with a tough one.
I know.
Honestly, I don't know how you break down this roster. I don't know how you at the moment narrow this to your 18. There's good players here, and I mean, Vanessa Giles.
Yeah,
she has to be on the team based on performance, what she's done. But look who's coming back in. Again, you're getting. So what does that start to look like for you in the back? You've got 4 keepers there, and every one of them deserving. You're gonna break that down to 2, I'm assuming, for the Olympics.
Yeah, I would go 2.
You would think so with the roster limitations. So 2, we're losing 2 good keepers. Up front, I mean, who doesn't make it up front on that?
Yeah, your forwards are Becky Heidema, Chloe Lacasse, who's in for some in a while, Leon, Michelle Prince, Deanne Rose, Christine Sinclair, and Evelyn Vienne. So good luck. But
is Adriana even recovered from that broken foot yet? I don't think she is.
Well, I don't know. I don't think they'd call her into a camp.
Yeah, she's on the roster.
Weeks if she's not ready to go. Fair. But I mean,
I'll tell you one right now who I leave off is Jordan Heidema, because I really do not think she brings enough to the national team when she plays for it. I just haven't seen it from her. And sorry, JP, I know this was supposed to be kind of your intro, but I got to jump in.
It's your day. It's your day, Chelsea.
But I think I leave off Heidema. She's not an impact player coming in off the bench, and I don't think that she's enough of a force when she starts to really make a difference for us. Adriana Leon, on the other hand, has been playing really well for us in the last number of friendlies and back at the She Believes. And I think that she is a much more lethal weapon to probably be bringing in off the bench. She's got a little bit more physicality than Jordan does. So if she's healthy enough in time for the Olympics, I think I elect to take her over Jordan Heidema for sure. The big questions come in midfield too, I think. Can you please remind me, is Sophie Schmidt on the roster?
Yes,
for the
yes.
Yeah.
I leave Sophie off at this point. I'm over her playing for the women's squad. She's past her prime. I just don't think she brings enough into the squad anymore. Whereas Quinn, I think, has been absolutely brilliant for us in a defensive midfield role. Pardon me. I think that Quinn and Desi Scott are your go-to defensive midfielder at this point.
Desi has to be there. Desi's a no-brainer for me.
For sure.
Yeah,
questionable. Then you got Jessie Fleming.
Yeah.
Another no-brainer.
And Desi, Christine, obviously. I mean, so this goes out to Carolyn Duthie, but Carolyn, you're right. I'm sorry, okay?
It's the first time in his life he's ever apologized for anything.
I'll kiss my cat's ass if it makes you happy now, Carolyn, for God's sake. So
yeah, in midfield, to be fair, the numbers in the camp are a little small, but some of those forwards I think can play almost in the mid. You have Fleming, Julia Grosso, Jordan Listro, Quinn, Schmidt, Scott, and Sarah Stratigakis as well. So I think that's where you'll see some of the numbers come off, and maybe some of the forwards could slide back into midfield.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I have to ask, I mean, you've left off Jordan Heidema, and wasn't she just named fourth best under 21 female player in the world by ESPN?
Yeah,
I'm not sure. I didn't see those rankings.
I think that just came out, did it not? I'm pretty sure that came out earlier today. And I'm only saying that, and I'm just gonna be devil's advocate here, because again, the Olympics is really, it's now, we want this program to be successful, not just now, but we want to be able to grow what we have. And for me, I look at a potential superstar, and how do we not have her involved in the biggest events? Even if at the moment, maybe she's not been at her best in certain performances for Canada, recent performances for Canada, but her upside is still there. And I think that she'll be a massive player for this country over the next decade.
And I think,
but that's not the national team's job to do, though. That's PSG's job, or wherever the heck she ends up. Because I honestly am wondering if PSG's even going to hang on to her. She's not really starting for PSG very much these days, and when she's on, she hasn't been doing a heck of a lot for them either. So, it's not the women's national team's job to be building Jordan Heidema into a future player. That's her club career that's going to do that development, right? So I'm not saying
develop her, because it's not a national team's job to develop at all. Yeah, national teams don't. Youth national teams, senior, they don't develop players. They provide a 10-day camp and get them ready for an event. So they manage.
Right.
But we're still talking about, do we leave off who we think right now at this point is going to be a top player in world football at the female game. If we don't think that, don't take her. If we do think that, I still think when you have that roster and you've got a young player to come in, I still think that it's not a development thing, but we are still talking about, who is regarded as one of the top young players.
I think honestly, for Canadian football's advancement's sake, I think the immediate success to me is more important. And I understand that you'd want to give a player like Jordan Heidema experience in big tournaments, events like the Olympics, but I think it will do more good for the overall Canadian football as a whole to see the women succeed again at the Olympics and have the players that are going to be able to make them succeed at the Olympics and earn another medal. Hopefully it's not just a bronze this time. Hopefully maybe we're playing for gold. But I think we take, if she's healthy again. The caveat is if she's healthy enough, I think we take an Adriana Leon over Jordan Heidema, strictly on the premise that she will be able to provide more on the field than what Jordan would be able to do. I don't know. I've just never been impressed with Jordan Heidema when she's on the field for the women. And I mean, yeah, she's scored, but her goals have come against exceptionally weak opposition, and she hasn't bagged anything against a Brazil or an England or Japan or anybody like that. You know, she hasn't really shown up in matches against that bigger competition, whereas Leon has scored some goals against those bigger teams. You know, I really think that to me that's the most important thing is the success of the women has driven Canadian football forward for the last 20-25 years, because you know the men's only success obviously being the Gold Cup in the last long while, whereas the success has really been driven by the women for the last little bit. So, and I think it still speaks true, because the general public pays attention more to the women's national team than the men's, because they see the women having success in events that the Canadian public pay attention to, which is the Olympics, right?
Yeah, and we've had that conversation before, right? Where
exactly.
That's why we were hoping that the men would actually get the Olympics, because they would get some eyes on them. But I know in the past that the women's team has taken a little bit of flack for not taking younger players to big events, whether it be the Olympics or Women's World Cup. And I mean, does it make an impact at that tournament right then and there? Maybe not, but I suppose you never know. But in the long run, does it impact them? And is that maybe why we've had these little stretches where we're like, okay, well, where are the young players? They have no experience, because we've only ever fielded, you know, all these veterans, and the veterans are eventually going to fall off and have to retire and that kind of thing, and their games drop off. So I don't know. It's interesting. It's very difficult, because 18 is weird. It's a weird number to work with, because you're so used to working with 23. But so the Czech Republic and Brazil, Go ahead, Sally.
I guess the other side of the coin is if, you know, Leon's coming back from that fairly, you know, a broken foot's a fairly major injury. It's a broken bone, right? And if she's coming back from that, is she potentially an injury risk at a tournament like the Olympics? Right. And if she goes injured in the Olympics, I can't recall if the Olympics has any rules for player replacement due to injury.
I feel like
I'm not sure.
Like a couple alternates who can be called in.
If they have like an alternates roster rule or not, but somebody who's far wiser than I would be able to answer that, I'm sure, on Twitter. But you know, it makes you wonder, like, is she potentially an injury risk coming off of a broken foot? So yeah, I mean, I don't envy Bev, but at the same time, I do envy Bev, because she's really got this women's team running like a well-oiled machine. They looked pretty fantastic in both those matches against Wales and England. So that Wales match, we were lights out, better than they were, and then in that England match, we just shut them down. You know, really we took advantage of a couple errors. So yeah,
I'm really interested to see them get another crack at Brazil. I know that loss at the She Believes Cup left a pretty sour taste in their mouth. So I'm interested to see how they do this time around, especially with both teams gearing up for the Olympics and should be in as good a form as you probably could be.
Yeah, I think Brazil is very underrated in the rankings right now. I think that they are actually a top 3 nation right now. I think it basically is the US, perhaps France, and then Brazil. I think the Brazilians are that good because they have some genuine X factor players now, and I think that's a major difference maker in women's football. Is if you have a couple of really stellar X factor players who are able to come out and produce for you on a regular basis, that I think is a big difference. So.
You have Japan and Netherlands 4-5.
Probably, yeah. But I think Japan's actually fallen off a bit. I really don't think Japan is the same strength that they once were. I think we will have a pretty good game. I don't know if I would put us in the winning position against Japan, but I think we'd probably be able to hold them to a draw at this point. So
I feel like Japan is in an interesting situation. They almost are in kind of the same boat as the United States, in the sense that their confederation, aside from maybe one other team, for the United States, it's us, and for Japan, it's Australia. The rest of the confederation is not very good, at least right now. And I don't know when that's going to get better. Obviously, Asian women's football is not my forte, but we can at least see here in CONCACAF, where Mexico is getting stronger, Costa Rica is getting stronger. Those teams are getting stronger. I don't know if many in the women's side in Asia are, maybe South Korea. I don't know, but anyways, it's just an interesting comparison, I thought.
Yeah, the Koreans have been half decent.
Yeah.
So they have. I think it's Japan South Korea, and maybe even North Korea to some degree, and then
North Korea was always making tournaments and stuff.
Yeah.
Although I don't know how that works or how that's going or what's going on, because you don't know anything that's going on over there. So
yeah, just lots of the same haircuts.
Yeah. I guess that's almost it. We got a couple minutes. JP, is there any topic you want to discuss? Anything you want to promote? Anything going on in your life that you feel you need to get off your chest right now?
Well, there's a lot I could get off my chest. But no, I'm back in youth football, so
Yes.
there you go. You know
Obviously-
what?
I was gonna say, here we go.
what's
Return to play.
Yeah,
You guys must be an exciting time right now. Just with Alberta says on June 1st, so that's the Tuesday, groups of 10 outside socially distanced. There's a potential that June 10th could open things up to everything. We could have games, full training sessions, the whole 9 yards. That's got to be.
No, COVID's gone in Alberta. Yeah, COVID's gone in Alberta.
Okay,
it's just we're over it. So as of June 10th, we are done with it. The pandemic
Perfect.
no longer is in this province, apparently. Which is, I'll tell you what, though, and a serious note, it's great for kids. I mean, it's they're the ones, and we get by, and we do what we have to. We're adults, and we're meant to do that. But these kids have no say in it. They've had their lives taken away from them, uprooted, in school, out school. And they don't understand what's going on. All the youngest ones have football taken away, all sports taken away, not just football. So I'm delighted for them. We've been doing things safely. I can tell you at our club, we've done things safely. So even this last shutdown for us was difficult because we were following the rules. We were doing it right. We have over 800 young players at our club, and we had zero transmission within our club because we followed the rules, so it's been frustrating. It's nice to be back. The one thing I wanted to bring up, though, is that rumor about Montgomery. Did you see that anywhere?
No,
a rumor
maybe
about a loan.
Just refresh everyone's memory, and by refresh I mean tell me, because I don't remember it.
No, it was just the other day. I just read somewhere that there's apparently a loan in the works for Montgomery and maybe Pacific. Okay. So if that's the case, then they take a jump up for me because they saw the only area of weakness that I see on that squad.
There you go. JP putting Pacific up higher in the ranks if this goes through.
What position is he again? I'm trying to recall.
Center back, no?
Is he center back?
Did I get the name wrong?
Are we talking Cal Montgomery?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Yeah. I think
yes, we are. Yes, we are. Cal Montgomery.
Yeah. Because I think I saw the same one. That there was a rumor that he was potentially going to be signing with Pacific, but it's on loan then. Okay.
It would be a loan. It would be a loan. So center back, right? I've got it right, don't I?
Yeah, I think you're good. Now. No, I think you're good.
Yeah. So, but that would solve. Yeah, that's what I thought. But that would solve that for me. I think that's the one area where I've always felt they could strengthen. Taking nothing away from the lads that they've had, because especially in PEI, I mean, they were just a good team playing out of the back. So I thought Lucas McNaughton I thought that was a breakout tournament for him, honestly, because he was here at our club on trial.
Yep.
And before I went to Pacific, so he's a great kid. So I'm delighted to see him do well. I just think that would give them the depth and a rotation of 3 center backs at that team that they could use. So
there you go. Sally, hit us with something that's not Chelsea related for the last call here.
Sure, yeah. Why don't we do a Saskatoon CPL update?
Oh, I love these. Go for it.
Yeah. So a couple of things have happened in the last couple of weeks. So there was a coalition basically of the horse racing folks and the We Really Hate Prairieland Park business owner folks who went in front of Saskatoon's Planning and Development Committee, who ultimately will make the recommendation to the city council as to what to do with Marquis Downs, the horse racing track, and on the soccer stadium, etc. Anyway, overwhelmingly positive outcome for Saskatoon CPL for the stadium. Basically, they were told that the city can't do anything about what Prairieland wishes to do with that property. They have full control over the land due to the land lease agreement that they have with the city. And if the city tried to do anything, Prairie Land would essentially be able to sue them into the ground. And I mean, that right there, the second that litigation and money gets involved, that's the end of it right there. So that was overwhelmingly positive for us. I mean, you never want to celebrate somebody else's misfortunes, but at the same time, they have not been kind to the soccer project in any way whatsoever. So then the next thing that was absolutely groundbreaking is the Moosomin First Nation, who are a little ways outside of Saskatoon, just announced yesterday that, yesterday being Friday, that they are going to actually be building a full equine facility, including a horse racing track, just outside of the city in the rural municipality of Corman Park, which is literally the land that wraps all the way around Saskatoon. They call that Corman Park. And that is huge. The reason why that is so massive is one of the big arguments from stadium detractors is that, well, you're taking horse racing away, you're destroying an industry in the province. We're going to fight you tooth and nail over this. Well, the Moosomin First Nation have gone and solved that problem for everyone by coming out and saying, well, we're building this full equine facility, this full horse racing track. And now horse racing is not going to die in the province. There's going to be a new home for it, and it's now going to be under the control of Moosomin First Nation and the FSIN, which is the kind of overall governing body of First Nations bands in all of Saskatchewan, which is absolutely, I mean, we couldn't have asked for anything better. This is the absolute best case scenario because it solves the racetrack problem. It puts that back into the hands of the First Nations community where it rightfully should have been from the get-go. It shouldn't have been in the hands of a bunch of rich white folks that like to exploit the sport for gambling purposes. And then those rich white folks are actually fighting this to some degree now. They're actually planning on going to a city planning and development committee again to try and force the city to give Marquis Downs heritage site designation, which would then mean that that location could not be redeveloped in any way. It would have to be maintained as a sports track, but they don't have a leg to stand on. They are ultimately going to get told that no, they can't do that because actually Prairie Land Park, who owns all the Marquis Down assets, has already announced that they're going to be donating a ton of those assets to this new Moosomin project in kind. And that is a massive signal because Prairie Land is essentially passing the torch over to Moosomin First Nation. And the fact that they have already announced that they're going to be passing those assets off, I don't think they'd be doing that unless there was kind of already an understanding between them and the city that this redevelopment, it's in the bag. It's in the bag. And it's very frustrating that these rich white folks that literally live just outside the city with their big stables and everything, who are complaining that they're going to be all poor now because they're not going to be able to run their horses in the races and be able to make a crap ton of money off of betting, off of gambling, are trying to fight this. And it's like, come on, guys, like this, they started off by trying to say, oh, well, we're standing up for the whole racing industry. We're all in this together. Well, clearly you're not. We're not all in this together because you're practically fighting what's happening with the announcement from Moosomin First Nation. And you're just literally in it for yourself is what it comes down to. I'm very infuriated that they're doing this. And we're actually contemplating calling them out on it next week and seeing what their response is, because it's blatant and it deserves to be called out because they were actually trying to play a racism card before the Horse Breeders Association, and clearly that was never even in the conversation, and they were trying to use that as a tactic, and that's disgusting if you ask me. That's downright disgusting. Right. So
positive developments all around.
Yeah, I mean, can I just suggest so that I think you've actually just called them out, so you don't have to do it next week.
Well,
so
I don't any of them watch this podcast, unfortunately. So we kind of might go to social media and call them out. Some of us might actually go to the meeting or attend the meeting that they have with the planning committee and call them out during the meeting. So we'll see how that goes.
No, it's good.
Sorry, not to eat up more time, but really quickly, just to say, the final hurdle then is the city council voting to financially support the stadium build, the provincial government declaring financial support for the stadium build, and likely the federal government providing infrastructure grant money.
Right.
And once those three, because Prairie Land and Living Sky Sports are going to contribute 25% of the cost of the build, and the other 75 is going to come from the other three levels of government. So, but it'll be a public use. It'll be a public use facility. It'll be a multi-use facility. Normally I'm a little bit against seeing public money going into sports infrastructure, but in this case, it's not going to be a stadium that's going to sit empty when there's not a professional sports team playing in it. There's going to be community use for the facility, so it's justified in that regard. So
there you go. Well, that's good. I'm glad that they've kind of sorted out something with horse racing so that the industry can still survive in that province, which is always good to see. I am going to veer off a little bit, but I think it's positive. And JP, you can't get too mad because there were Leafs fans there too. But what a joy to see even a limited amount of fans, 2,500 fans in the Bell Center for Habs Leafs Game 6, which was tonight when we're recording. Even though it's, a small step, and we see American stadiums just packed and everybody's, no mask and everybody's just jumping into each other. But for this country, for Canada, what a nice, refreshing step forward that it appears to be getting back to normal. And hopefully, in a couple months when we can have CPL season, CFL, horse racing, whatever it is, anything outside, that people can be there. And I can't wait for people to be back at things. And so it was so nice to see fans in the building tonight for that game. But
agreed.
That's it.
Yep.
I think that's time, boys and girls. Why don't we wrap her up? Jeff_Paulus on Twitter, Jeff D. Salisbury on Twitter. He's on some other stuff too. You can follow him there. It's probably all the same. I'm Grayson Knutson on Twitter. At the Cynical Chow 1 is the vodcast. Follow us there and search Cynical Challenge on YouTube as well, Spotify, and all your favorite podcatchers as well. Gentlemen, always a pleasure. And we'll chat. I think we're going to chat after the two matches against Aruba and Suriname. And Sally flashes the Chelsea badge once again.
Yeah.
Fellas, thanks so much. We'll chat soon.